Welcome, guys. Welcome back to another video. Welcome to Miko's Corner. I hope you have a great day. Uh, Today we're going to be reacting to World War One, 1917. There was a subscriber, by the way, 78. There was a subscriber who told me to watch the Battle of the Somme, which is a video before this one. I want to finish everything and then go back to extra ones because we're in a world I want to know more. 1917. So 1917, I know that it's the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk that basically takes the Russians out of the war because they couldn't sustain the October Revolution. It was going very, very badly for the Russians, so they had to get out. And so they gave up a bunch of territory to the Germans, to puppet states under the Germans. All the Baltic states, all from the Baltic states all the way down to Ukraine, with Belarus and but that treaty didn't last because the Germans ended up losing the war a year later. So everything was sort of restored to how it was, if you will. But yeah, that's pretty much my knowledge on 1917. Let's go in, guys.
In 1916, World War I became a war of attrition.
I watched. I'm sorry. I watched the video. I think I'm gonna make a reaction on the Christmas truce. Very talks really about the human spirit and very, very interesting. Go check it out if you know.
Both sides began to focus less on winning victory on the battlefield than grinding down the enemy and inflicting such enormous losses they would be forced to surrender. In 1917, the strategy will push Europe's major powers to the brink of collapse.
I mean, I'm sorry I'm pausing so early, but I have to get this point across that by then the cost of the war was so high and the rewards would be so little in comparison. There was a book actually by I don't know if I talked to you guys about this, by Norman Angel. I think I did. This book that basically stated that war would become so expensive that any reward you get if you win would be minuscule in comparison. And so, because of the cost of the war, economically speaking, there would never be any more wars. That didn't work out really, but
Germany knows it will lose a long war of attrition against the Allies, who
yeah.
have greater resources. So its leaders gamble. They resume unrestricted submarine warfare, believing their U-boats can cut off Britain's food imports by sea and starve the country into surrender within 6 months. But the new shoot-on-sight tactics mean neutral American ships will inevitably be caught in the crossfire, risking America joining the war on the Allied side. Just 2 days into the campaign, the SS Housatonic, an American steamer carrying wheat from Galveston.
What does SS stand for? Before ships. I know that HMS is Her Majesty's ship, but SS.
Texas to England is sunk by a U-boat.
That's what? Houston.
The British then
Houston.
pass to the US government a telegram they've intercepted.
Zimmerman.
German Foreign Secretary Arthur Zimmerman to the German ambassador in Mexico.
I basically said it's stupid beyond belief, but back then, a few years prior, Mexico was at war with the U.S. over territory. They lost a bunch of territory, and so Germany was like, you know what? Let's open a front, an American front, so that the Mexicans go to war. They take the pressure off us. But it was idiotic. It wouldn't have worked.
Germany is encouraging Mexico to attack America if America and Germany end up at war.
That's stupid.
The so-called Zimmerman telegram puts yet more pressure on US President Wilson to declare war on Germany.
Yeah. Because, the whole thing with the submarines, at least you can tell yourself, listen, yes, American ships are sinking. Yes, but we are deciding to trade with them. You know what I mean? We are deciding to go into those waters that are off limits. You know, it's on us. But this, where the Germans are advocating damage upon Americans, it can galvanize a lot of people. You know.
In Russia, enormous casualties and bread shortages lead to riots and revolution.
Yep.
The Tsar abdicates. A provisional government takes charge, pledging to continue the war.
Doesn't last,
but
though.
At the front, Russian troops begin to desert en masse.
I mean, they're tired. They're like,
after a string of German provocations, the US finally declares war on Germany.
Yeah.
It brings immense resources to the Allied cause, but they will take many months to mobilize. And the German gamble of unrestricted submarine warfare may still pay off.
Also,
April is the U-boats' most successful month of the war. They sink 886,000 tons of Allied shipping, an average of 17 ships a day.
Jesus Christ!
With urgently needed.
Imagine being on any ship that goes from America with supplies to the UK. You might be, the whole way there, you might be trembling in your boots. 17 ships a day are sunk?
Supplies.
Are you
Britain
kidding
will
me?
face starvation if the U-boats are not defeated soon. On the Western Front, the British launched the Battle of Arras, a diversion to support a major upcoming French offensive. After heavy fighting, Canadian troops seized the high ground of Vimy Ridge. It's a limited Allied victory, but costs 150,000 Allied casualties to 130,000 German.
The numbers are so high.
Above the trenches, the First Air War has reached new levels of sophistication and deadliness. Reconnaissance aircraft are crucial for spotting enemy positions and directing artillery fire onto them. Scout aircraft or fighters try to shoot them down before they can execute their mission. New
This
models
is real
of
footage,
aircraft
this
are
is insane.
developed every few months. But that spring, the superiority of German aircraft leads to heavy Allied losses in what becomes known as Bloody April. Three days after the fall of Vimy Ridge, French General Robert Nivelle launches his main offensive. Expectations are high, but after initial success, the advance bogs down and casualties quickly mount on both sides.
Yeah.
The apparently senseless losses cause morale in the French army to collapse. Whole units mutiny, refusing to attack.
Yeah. The losses are way too high for nothing. I mean, the soldiers, you can push them, but this is 3 years in, man. You know, it's just, it's too much. Too much. It's for nothing, you know?
General Nivelle is sacked as French commander-in-chief and replaced by General Pétain,
Yeah.
hero of Verdun, who promises no more suicidal attacks. That summer, at Messines Ridge, the British tunnel under the German lines and
I've
detonate
seen this.
19 enormous mines under
Look
the
at this
enemy
shit.
position. It's the largest man-made explosion in history to date, and
To
paves
date?
the way to a
To date, even bigger than nukes?
brilliant but highly
Look at
local
this hole.
British victory.
This is insane. I wonder what it was like to see it and survive.
In Greece, King Constantine, who has favoured neutrality, is forced to abdicate.
Why?
And Greece joins the Allies.
Oh, I mean, I was gonna say, why don't you just join with the Allies? They're about to win, but they don't know that. I mean, it looks 50-50 here.
Russia's provisional government orders a new attack, but the July offensive is a disaster.
Yep.
The morale and discipline of the Russian army has collapsed. It can no longer be relied on to fight, and the Central Powers' counterattack is almost unopposed. At sea, the Allies begin to group their merchant ships into convoys, which sail under naval escort. The new system leads to a steady fall in losses. The tide is turning in the U-boat war.
Okay.
As discontent with the war grows in Germany, the German parliament, the Reichstag, passes a peace resolution, calling for a peace of understanding and reconciliation.
It doesn't go?
It's ignored by the German High Command, which now effectively rules the country
it became
as a military dictatorship.
Yeah. Peace of resolution? What was that? Like, they wanted a peace with the Allies?
In Belgium, the British launched their major offensive of 1917, the Third Battle of Ypres. It will be remembered as Passchendaele. Heavy shelling, rain and broken irrigation channels turned the battlefield into a sea of mud. In these impossible conditions, all hopes of a breakthrough
at least, when you look at old battles, in the Middle Ages, at least you fought, with a sword. There was a chance for you to survive. Here, it's just machine guns and bombs and artillery, and people shoot you from miles away. Very, very far away. With snipers, you don't see them coming. You're just talking to your friend.
The attack is called off after 3 months, by which point the British have suffered 240,000 casualties. The Germans, 200,000. On the Italian front, at the 11th Battle of the Isonzo, Italian and Austro-Hungarian forces battered.
11th battle, man, Jesus Christ. The Italian front is very small, so there will be a lot of recurring battles. It's not like a very long front. The 11th battle.
To exhaustion.
That's funny. 11th battle?
There are 150,000 Italian casualties, 100,000 Austro-Hungarian. That year, 1917, the list of Allied nations grows. Brazil, Liberia, China, and Siam all declare war on Germany as a result of German U-boat attacks, or to curry favor with the Allies.
It's the favor part. It's not like now they finally woke up to the U-boat attacks. Nah, it's the favor. This is where the wind is blowing.
China will contribute many thousands of laborers working for the Allies in Europe, the Middle East, and Asia.
Jesus Christ. Are they forced laborers? What's going on in the Middle East?
That year in the Middle East, British forces avenge their 1916 humiliation at Kut by defeating the Ottoman Turks and marching on to occupy Baghdad.
Oh shit.
British forces in Egypt advance across the Sinai Desert, but are thrown back by Ottoman forces at the First and Second Battles of Gaza. In July, Arab rebels capture the strategic Ottoman port of Aqaba. They are accompanied by a British military advisor, Captain T.E. Lawrence,
there you go,
better known as Lawrence of Arabia. That autumn, British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour issues the Balfour Declaration, expressing support for the creation of a national home for the Jews in Palestine.
Dude, win the war first.
The aim is to rally Jewish support for the Allies, but the declaration contradicts existing pledges to Arab leaders.
Yeah, they might get suspicious, man.
In October, the British finally win at Gaza, clearing the way for an advance into Palestine. 6 weeks later, General Allenby leads British troops into Jerusalem, ending 400 years of Ottoman rule.
Jesus, that's a lot. So what, they took it in the 16th century? Wow.
With Russian forces in disarray, Germany is able to move troops from the east to the Italian front. At the Battle of Caporetto, they helped to smash through the Italian army, advancing 70 miles and taking 250,000 prisoners. British and French divisions, desperately needed on the Western Front, have to be redeployed to shore up the line. In Russia, a second revolution brings Lenin's Bolshevik party to power. He is determined to end Russia's involvement in the war.
Yeah.
In France, Georges Clemenceau becomes prime minister.
Ta-da!
The Tiger, he promises total
Dude,
war.
the
and total
mustache,
victory.
I mean, on point.
But for the Allies in late 1917, final victory looks uncertain. Russia has stopped fighting. French armies are recovering from mutiny.
I thought that was a palanquin. You know, the...
The Italian front has almost collapsed, and American reinforcements still seem a long way off.
When did they enter the war?
For the time being, the British are the only effective Allied force in the field. So the British attack at Cambrai with the first major tank assault in history.
Look at that.
On the first day, nearly 400 tanks spearhead an advance of several miles through German defences.
Oh, the Blitzkrieg.
But then the tanks break down or are knocked out.
Yeah.
The Germans rush in reinforcements, and the gains are lost.
And now are the Germans gonna make World War I tanks?
Finland declares independence from Russia.
Oh.
Romania, isolated by the Russian collapse, signs an armistice with the Central Powers. 6 days later, Russia also signs an armistice. The Allied Eastern Front is no more.
I mean, I have a question. Because Romania ends up, on the winning side of the war, why did they get territory? Because they signed an armistice. And they end up getting a bunch of territory after the First World War. Like, why?
1917 has seen one major Allied power, Russia, knocked out of the war.
Yeah.
But the arrival of a fresh new ally, America.
Who's that?
Germany knows only military
In the
victory
white.
can now save it from being overwhelmed by Allied resources, and begins planning one last massive onslaught for the spring of 1918.
Spring offensive, yeah. I hope you enjoyed my reaction to this. Very interesting series. We're coming to an end. We're about to finish it. Yeah. So if you like my reaction, leave a like, leave a comment. Very important. Tell me your thoughts, and I'll see you guys next time. See ya.